Well, hey friends, welcome back to the cabin. I know that you all have seen that movie, The Perfect Storm. Well, it seems like in the last 7 days that we have had one here at the Outpost. And what I mean by that is I've got about a dozen large, very large yellow pine trees that have blown down and that have knocked others down, smaller trees on their way down. But I thought that I would just kind of give you a little bit of an update. I'm really busy working around here. We're trying to get that roof on the carport, and I'll tell you what, there's just been so much that's happened in 7 days. But let me show you some of the damage that the wind has done. All right, what you're looking at is the back side of the hog pen here, but that tree that came down was just long enough to reach that side right there. I think that it can be fixed, but if not, they don't cost that much. But yeah, just long enough to reach the hog pen. I think that I would rather have them cut off than uprooted, but there's nothing that you can do in a windstorm. Both of them happened on a late Friday afternoon. The most recent wind that we got that I think it was the last 4 trees that came down. The winds were pretty bad. You'll be able to see that in tomorrow's video, but they weren't bad enough that we couldn't work, but we had trees falling all around us actually. Okay, here's the base of the one that's actually right behind. You can see the woodshed here. I'm standing next to the carport. This is another one that came down, but here's the top side of the tree. Now it was really crooked, but there's still some useful lumber in it. Here's just a pair of small cedar trees down here by one of the wood piles that uprooted. And of course I showed you this one last week's video. This big huge white pine came down in that same week, along with the tops of some that we'll take a look at here in just a second that are laying up here by the new workshop area. Right here's a partial pile from the tree that came down. You can see where the little outhouse is right there, so didn't miss it by much. Here's the other pile of tops so that I don't burn too much at one time. So I'll transfer these over there as I burn the others. I had to cut this up to get out of the driveway, but there's still probably, I don't know, maybe 2 good logs left in this one, as well as I can probably use that little one for something right there. From one of the previous storms, I still have the butt of a cedar tree right here that I needed to get out. But as you can see over here, this other one that broke off from this one right here that got skint about a week ago from the trees that came down that are going, like I said, over there towards the workshop where we're working. So now I'm on the back side of the lower garden, and there was 4 trees that came down together that I had cut up, and I've got 4 logs lying there. Still got one to cut there, and I might be able to get 1 if not 2 more on the rest of those going up. Just haven't had time to clean everything up. Some of these are leaning. I'm going to have to go ahead and take those out, as bad as I hate to. Here's the other side of the driveway where I showed you those big root balls where the trees had got blown down in last week's video. And then this one happened the other day. It just got blown down just a few days ago. So it uprooted. I'm going to have to come down and clean out my ditch again because of the trees riding right there in the bank. So got that. And as you can see, another one way down there, actually one that's broken off, but one that's still lodged in a big, about a 14-inch cedar tree down there next to the driveway that I need to cut that out as well. So now I'll tell you this, up behind the cabin, more closer towards the top of the ridge, Patrick and I were working and we could actually hear a tree falling. You know how it cracks, but it just kept going. And I don't know if it was hitting others, taking them down with it, but it probably lasted for, I don't know, maybe a good 30 or 45 seconds. It's like it just kept going. But so I know that there's more trees up closer to the top of the ridge. Sometimes I go hiking up there. I've done actually a little filming up there, doing a little bushcraft and things like that. So I'm sure that those trees are up near that area. But I'll tell you, it's like, I don't know, something has changed. We have never had this much wind, especially this destructive, that I can ever remember. And I've basically grew up here in the 70s and 80s. Of course, got married, moved to Texas, and came back several years ago. But yeah, never have I known we to have these types of winds, but it's becoming more and more usual. And I think my son had mentioned that he read somewhere that the tornado alley, that they want to call it, or that a lot of people call it, or the path of storms, has slightly shifted towards the east. So we may be just on the outskirts of that type of a path now. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, when you live around trees, like I'm surrounded by them, they don't have that many out there in the tornado alley area. I guess because of all the tornadoes, right? But yeah, when you live in an area like this where you got trees all the way around you, and you'll see later in tomorrow's video where the trees, we did just a few shots where they're really bending, but that's wasn't enough to bring them down. So the winds were much worse than that to bring these trees down. But anyway, yeah, things have changed, so I guess I can be looking forward to more of that type of weather. Well, this has just been, I guess, a little bit of an update because we've really been busy trying to get that carport, get the top put on it, and then all these trees down right before Patrick comes in, and then them coming down actually before he leaves. So he got to see half of it. But anyway, we've got a lot of lumber in stock now, and we're going to have to figure out, you know, how we're going to clean it up and cut it up, and where we're going to stack it and store it and things like that. But looks like we'll have plenty of wood for a lot of projects. Maybe even we'll have enough to finish that workshop down there and not have to cut anymore, except on the sawmill. But anyway, that and the gardens, it looks like I've got a lot of work down here to clean up for this bottom garden where I had the hugelkultur mounds. And it was very fruitful, by the way. It did really well. But I've got a lot of cleanup to do down there, and then I'm going to have to repair the fence so that the dogs and critters and things like that don't get in the garden. But at least I've got this one up here behind the cabin that I can grow things in, and I've still got some canned goods left over from what Jennifer canned last year, so I'm not really worried about lasting through the winter without having something to eat. But anyway, it looks like we've got, like I said, plenty of material around here to do a lot of different projects. But guys, you know, we haven't had time to start anything new. Just thought we'd kind of give you a little bit of an update on what's going on here. We certainly hope that the winds are not that bad where you're at, and that you've got your garden getting ready to go, or you've got big plans for 2023 in some other area. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We certainly do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.